بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. I just want to mention one story from Mufti Sa'id Ahmad Palanpuri rahimahullah ta'ala. So he was the Shaykh al-Hadith of Darul Deoband for after about 10 years. And before that he taught Tirmidhi for many years. I don't know how many decades he taught Tirmidhi. But it's a very interesting story about him. He himself narrates the story himself. Which is very interesting for talaba and asatiza. So he was talking about, basically he was trying, in a lecture he was talking about that the only way a hafiz of the Quran, an alim of the Quran, or student of the Quran will really study properly is if he himself has the zeal to study. If he has his way of talking in Urdu, so he says in Urdu, he says what? Danda khaye bacha aur taj pehne abba. Because it comes in a hadith that what? When a person learns the Quran, then what happens? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give his father a crown. So he goes that the kid is in murder, so I don't want to study his class. And in old time, his husband, the dandakai, bacha, gets licks from the teacher. He doesn't want to learn, he getting licks, getting beats. But the father is making him do this, why? So he can get a taj. Because the only person who does his properly, sometimes they learn it, and then after they mature. When they mature, what happens? And they realize, no, alhamdulillah, I didn't want to do his, but my parents made me do it, and it was really beneficial for me. But it goes even in studies, until you yourself, the student themselves, doesn't decide that I want to study, they won't study properly. And he says himself, so in Darul Ulooms, they have like different books. So they have the first book in Nahw is Nahw Mir. Then the next year you have Hidayat al-Nahwa. Then they have Kafiya. Then you have in the fourth year, Shari Jami, Mullah Jami. So he said for the first 4 years, he said, I never studied. I used to attend the classes. And he goes that in his village, there was no hifz. There wasn't there was no hifz class riwaj and people become a hafiz, nothing. So I never became hafiz. So for the first 4 years, I just wasted my 4 years. So he goes that he was in Saharanpur, he goes that I used to love bicycles. Yes? I used to love bicycles. So he says himself that there's not a single street in the area that I never rode around. I used to ride around all over Saharanpur. I love my bike. I attend classes because in India, if you don't attend the classes, register, then you don't get food. When you go for lunchtime and dinner time, you won't get your food. So I attend the classes, but I never used to do anything. Yes? So he goes, for the first 4 years, I wasted my time. And he goes that once I got typhoid, he got sick. So I went home. When I went home, then my dad either came to pick me up. Again, he was a very poor, very, very poor family. So just to get a train ticket, it cost money. Yes? So he goes that when I got home, I was really sick. I was recovering. So my father was talking to my grandmother. I was in bed, and my father was talking to my grandmother, his mother. He said, I'm not going to make him study anymore. There's no point. Because I have to send him Ramadan after get a ticket. After come home Bakra'id, another train ticket. So he comes back, return ticket. Then send him back after Bakra'id, after the Eid al-Adha. So it's too expensive. He's not studying properly. So I'm just going to keep him here and just let him start working. So I heard that, and sometimes you don't know when. So your grandmother said, okay, because it makes sense. He's not studying, he's wasting his time, not really doing anything, he's not well, I have to spend so much money, I can't afford it. So he goes, when I heard this for something, sometimes Allah's taqdeer is such that one particular time, somebody's dua, this one sentence can change somebody's life. One sentence, one story, one lecture, one bayan. That's why it comes in a Persian statement. And that this 1 second in this company of a pious person is beneficial, more beneficial than lots of ibadah. Why? Because sometimes that 1 second, one dua, you learn one thing, you hear one thing, it can change your life. So because when my dad said it to my mom, I heard it, and I couldn't sleep. For some reason, that just hit me, and I just thought that I need to study. I can't continue like this. I had fully recovered. It goes one night I couldn't sleep. So I went in the morning. I went to my mom and said, "Mom, pack my stuff for me. I'm going." And then my dad wasn't too interested. My dad thought that he's not ready. So I went to my thing, and I went to my dad and goes, "I'm going to study." So my dad thought he's going to come back anyways in a free time. So my dad was in bed. He just took his hand out of the blanket and said, "Assalamu alaikum." I said, "Go. He didn't come back anytime. He's not studying." And then he said, I went back. But when I went back, what happened now? I don't know my stuff. I'm trying to study Mullah Jami, and I don't understand it. So I had a classmate. I said to him, I can't understand this Mullah Jami. I don't know what's going on. So he goes, you wasted your first 3 years. So he goes, that's from the beginning. So he goes, I went to my friend, he went to his classmate, and he started about studying year 1 book, Nahw Mir. So it's like primary book in Nahwa. Then either Hidayat al-Nahwa. So while studying the 4 lesson, he would go back and try to cover up the past lessons. So he studied Nahw Mir. He studied Hidayat al-Nahwa again. Once in the 4th year. Then he studied Kafiya again. And he did for all the sciences. And it was that 1 year I studied so hard that I came second. My classmate who helped me out, he came first. And I came second. And it goes from the 4th year onward, 4th year of Mulad, I don't know how many other years, 4, 5, 6 years. He goes, I studied for under 4, 5 years. And he goes, even when I graduated, I started teaching at Jamia Shafiya in Randir. He goes, that my Arabic adab was weak. So when he became a teacher, he goes, I used to write, you know how the students do mutala, write the note out, vocabulary out, like send translations out. He goes, my istidad was weak in this particular subject. And what happened? I used to write out all the singular words, write out sentences, write out the mufradat, all the usloob. And that's how he became who he is. And who did he become? This thing that, so I mentioned this story to you, if you wasted like 2, 3 years, don't think, oh, that's, I can never study properly again. If you weren't young, you want hafiz when you were younger, don't think, oh no, I know that. Some people are so lucky when they're young, their parents made them a hafiz and they study from the beginning. He started studying from the 4th year. And he's saying that, if you study 3, 4 years properly, you can get everything. And what did he become? He became like in Jamia Shafiya Randir, like, like Deoband is like there. It's like basically the Apple or the Samsung of thing, or the Real Madrid or the Man United. What? You have scouts, and they will go and scout the best teachers. So when somebody scouted him that he's a really good teacher, so he would, they got him to bring him down there to teach. And I would say that there's 2 people whose explanations are like la thani, that not in the world, but who I've benefited from. One is him, his way he explains stuff, and one is my teacher, Mawlana Salim Sahab. When they explain something, very clear, no rush, clarity, explanation. When they explain something, it sticks in your mind. So he became the teacher in Randir, and they took him to Deoband, and he became the Shaykh al-Hadith of Deoband. So he wasted his first 3 years in studying, but when he decided he was going to study, so when he decided he was going to study, and then he started studying properly, he became the thing. And recently, Maulana, when I was saying that in India, in those madaris, like you have to have attendance register, because why people should, because huge madaris. But his dars was so maqbool that you don't take register in his dars, because everybody comes. It's like a university, like so huge, not like a small madrasa, 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 people. You have you can take a register, like you have to take a huge register system. But in his lesson, it would be full, because everybody would. When you go on to see what he's written, I don't know, in tafsir, he's written Hidayatul Quran tafsir. He's written a commentary on Bukhari Sharif. Written a commentary on Tirmidhi. Then you go on to Usul al-Fiqh. He's got a book on Usul al-Fiqh, Mabadi al-Usul. We're going to be studying that. Mabadi al-Usul. He's got a Sharh Nuqbat al-Fikr. He's got Sharh al-Muqaddimah of Muslim. Yeah, Hujjatullah al-Baligha. Shah Wali rahmatullah alayh. He's written Hujjatullah al-Baligha. And that's a very difficult book. It's one of the primary, it's all in India, like that's one of the very primary books in like the whole philosophy of Islam, etc. Explains Islam in a very comprehensive way. It's a kind of difficult book. He's done a whole sharh on that, rahmatullah al-Wasiya. And these are some of the main books. Other books I don't know he's got as well. So he's written so much. So one is, but when did this come about? So one is an example that if you were weak in the 1st year, 2nd year, 3rd year, 4th year, if you decide you want to do something, you can do it. It only takes a couple of years to get your ability. And even if you were weak when you were studying, you're teaching now, the teachers, well, you got a chance to study. You wasted a few years when you're teaching. You got a chance to then say, look, put your head down and work hard, and you can make progress. And one is that, that one night, he decided, okay, yeah, Dad doesn't want me to study, so I'm going to leave it. He wouldn't know where he'd been today. All the legacy that he left behind is one, in modern era. Like basically, like if you don't know, some people are kind of weak. So if a teacher is weak, or doesn't have time, or they don't have the ability to solve all the hawashi, if you read any of his books, and you just teach from his sharah, his tafsir, his sharah of Bukhari, his sharah of Tirmidhi, Urdu, then you can just use those books and teach. Not you should do that, you should do proper mutala, but those people are weak, you can just use that and just teach from there. So he's left behind a very great legacy. So one is, so from here, like students, if you wasted your time before, or you say, oh, you're not hafiz, or your Quran is weak, or your recitation is weak, it doesn't matter. When you start, from the time you start, you put your head down, that I am going to study, I am going to work hard, you can acquire anything. But you have to decide. It can't be that, oh, I'm doing it for my father, I'm doing it for my mother, it doesn't feel good, what happens. So if you put your head down, and then after he wasn't hafiz, he became hafiz after he graduated. Yeah, so everything can be done. But you yourself have to decide. I have decided, I know what, I want to teach properly. I want to be a good teacher. I want to explain things clearly, properly, slowly. I want my students to be able to understand the lesson properly. I want to write properly. So whatever you decide to do, you can do it. But it's up to you when you decide to do it. And until that time doesn't come, you have teachers will explain to you, teachers will motivate you, teachers will do all this. But it doesn't matter until you yourself don't decide, I want to study. Until you yourself don't decide, I want to become a hafiz. You yourself don't decide, I want to become a good teacher. Even staff, you have varying levels of staff members. And then a staff member themselves don't decide, I want to be a good teacher. I want to work hard and progress and become one of the best teachers I can possibly become. Whatever teacher training we have, whatever books you read, is not going to benefit. It's that person has to make a decision themselves consciously that I want to become the best person that I can possibly become. Then Allah opens up ways. And like one person, like 180-degree change from not studying altogether to leaving to becoming Shaykh al-Islam Deoband. I'm telling you, Deoband, like altogether from beginning of Deoband to now, like 9 Shaykh al-Hadith. To have that position, so 360 change. But one event can change. So even from there as well, don't let one event change your life. Or let one event change your life. Sometimes they go, teacher told me off, so I'm not going to study anymore. That one event can change your life, and it could become. Shaitan uses all these little things to try to confuse us, make us miss out on it. You get what I'm saying? Get frustrated. You have to have sabr. You have to work hard, put in effort. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us a bit of upon this. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, wa nastaghfiruka.